For the Techknitters, this is drive or drop lace.
Okay, welcome to Monday, March 3rd, where we're going to learn about drive lace. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my R2 punch card and I'm going to place a little mark on every even number for the first 20 rows. And I'm going to let that dry. While that little highlighter dries, we will set up for drive lace. One of the most important parts about drive lace is your setup. Drive lace has 90% of the knitting is on the ribber and only 10% is on the main bed. You need to make sure that the end stitches are on the ribber and not on the main bed. So we will also be using half pitch. So I'll put it in 3/2 and I will bring up the stitches that are on the end. So ribber is at 15 and I guess I don't need as many stitches here. 15 right and 16 left, and it's on 15 right and 15 left on the main bed. We are going to do the cast on in waste yarn, and we're going to knit 5 or 6, 7 or 8, 9 or 10 rows, and then we're going to drop all the stitches on the main bed before we knit on the ribber. So let me set that up and then we'll get knitting. The instructions for drive lace want you to take your main yarn and do the broken toe cast on. The problem with doing the broken toe cast on, other than broken toes, is it looks really sloppy when you have your end product. So I'm going to knit it a different way. I'm still going to do a broken toe cast on, but I am not going to use my main yarn for the broken toe or the secondary set of rows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the cast on, and then I'm going to knit a couple rows, and then I'm going to drop the ribber the needles off the main bed. So the first thing we do is we set the carriages for 0 and 0, normal knitting, knit across. Looks pretty good. I'm going to add my ribber comb. I'll get as close to 0 as I can, making sure that there is at least one tooth in each loop. Okay, am I at 0? Oh, I'm not even at 0. 1 second here. Taking that down, moving it over. Now I'm at 0s. I'm not worried about this end one. I have to put on a clip. Okay, so I'm going to clip it. Now, it won't hurt at all to do circular knitting, so let's do that. You're going to part on the ribber at tension 1. You are going to part on the main bed going to the right. Again, tension 1. So you're knitting on the main and you're parting on the ribber. You have a clip on your waste yarn. It is also in the tooth of your ribber comb. Knit across. Knit it again. Now you can do normal knitting, 5 or 6 rows. Okay, now you get to practice with the D-slider. The D-slider, also known as the D-knitter, goes on the main bed, has an arrow. You only use it going left to right. You knit, go across slowly, and it drops all of the stitches on the main bed. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we're going to bring up all the stitches on the ribber by hand, and we are now going to take our yarn of the day and we're going to put it between the beds. Put a clip on it. Now we can either double E-wrap or E-wrap. I'm going to double E-wrap and pull it through. So between the first and second, wrap it around, come around the next one, through the first one, pull it down, around, pull it down. You can't see that from that angle. We're going to move the camera and then you can see what I'm doing. Okay, this is a pretty good angle. We're going around into the head of the first needle and pulling it down. And locking in these stitches into the waste yarn. Alright, continuing on. My goodness. Well, I'll do some editing. So this is a double E-wrap on a ribber. Okay. Need to load the yarn in after I cut. My waste yarn. Waste yarn is cut. Make sure it's not caught on anything. It's not. Okay. Now we're going to move the camera again and make sure that it's not unpaused. Okay, before we go any further with any more knitting, we have to put the punch card in. So I will move the camera a little bit better so that we can actually put the punch card in. Now, it's been a long time since I've had to put in a punch card, so you're going to have to forgive me if I do it wrong. Hang on. There appears to be random hair on my punch cards. I don't lose that many hairs. I don't have that many it'll give. Okay. I've been very spoiled that I haven't had to use these punch card things for a while. Almost need pliers. Alright, we are engaged. So this is row 1. What we're going to do is we're going to move the camera again so that the wire is not in the way. But we are also locking in the punch card. See, it's locked in. We are going to reset our row counter. Mine happens to be already at 0. I have to move the camera so that it does not interfere with the yarn. So I'm going to move you back a little bit, and then you will be able to see what is going on. We also need to discuss the carriage before I forget. And so we will do that now. Okay, one of the most important things about the carriage is that we need to make sure that we are not in working position. So you need to make sure that these little end cams do not send out the end stitches on your main bed. As far as I can see, mine is in non-working position. If it was in working position, it would be at 12 o'clock, and non-working, it should be flat. My carriage is broken, and my carriage will send out end needles. So, I'm hoping for the best on this one, but when it does send out end needles on 15 and 15, I will just push them back. It's not a big deal. And while I have this thing flipped over, I'm going to give it a quick cleaning. Okay, I'm now going to put it back on the bed. It's nice and clean. Back to normal knitting. Whew, that was stressful. Now that we're ready to go again, load the yarn. Make sure that nothing is interfering. Bring everything up. Now, I have not added any weight to this river. So I'm going to add a large barrel weight at 0, a large barrel weight at 20, and a large barrel weight at 20. That should be more than enough for this project. Deep breath. Everything looks smooth. We now need to set up for knitting. So, put it into KC. Bring it across until it clicks in. Push both part buttons, because you do not want any knitting on the main bed for row 1. We're now going to knit across. Oh, I almost forgot. We need to reset our ribber. Now the instructions say tension 2. I disagree. Tension 4 is what I think works best for my yarn. Another thing I like to do is to bring up my ribber stitches to make sure that they all knit off evenly. So now we're going to knit across, and nothing should knit on the main bed, only the ribber. Now that kicked out stitches here on the main. And of course an end stitch because my carriage is naughty. Now these stitches are going to get knit with this nice yarn after we unlock the punch card. So the punch card is now unlocked and we're going to knit across. What you will see happen is the ripper will knit, and on the main bed some stitches will get knit. So let's knit across. And this is what we have. We have a couple of stitches that are knit. Now we are also in pink here. I will move the camera. Okay, so we have a pink dash because we're at row 2 on the punch card. This is when we're going to de-knit. So every time the carriage is on the left, we will take the de-knitter onto the main bed and we will drop the stitches. One of the things that I like to do is I like to make sure that they are actually not on the needles. Takes an extra step, but it works very well for me. And then we knit across 2 rows. 1, watch that end one, and 2. You'll see this time it didn't kick it out, so it is just my carriage is naughty. Now we de-knit them. Sometimes you gotta wiggle the de-knitter. Sometimes you don't. Knit across 2 rows. 1, 2. Now that one should not have knit. We're going to drop it right now, and we're just going to give that a little pull to even it out. I should have been more careful. Now let's de-knit. Now we can knit across. Watching for end ones, none. De-knit. Knit 2. One, 2. Oh, my goodness gracious. Poor thing. De-knit. Goodness gracious. Wow, noisy. De-knit. Going across again. And again. Going to de-knit. Here we go again. What are the practical applications of this knitting? Yoga shawls, scarves. Would I do a hat? Yes. Absolutely. A sweater? You can, but you have to be careful, I guess, on how you knit it. Going across. I find this is a great way to do lace because you really can't go wrong. You don't drop anything. You can do it on a bulky. You can do it on a mid-gauge. You can do it on any machine you want. You could even do it on one that hand selects. All you have to do is remember to drop the stitches on the main. We're going to do a few more rows. One, two, one, two, now I accidentally didn't pay attention to that end one again. So give a little pull, knit across again. Oh, was paying attention again. Okay, dropping. Knitting. And again. This is going so well, we might as well finish the punch card. One, two, this is row 40. Oh, it looks so good. One, two, one, two, here we go again. This is row 50. Ten more rows to go. 1, 2, 2. Oh, this is 56. 1, 2, and these are the last 2. 1, 2. All right. So now I'm going to put it into neutral, push in the part buttons, push up my needles. I'm going to knit once, pull it down nicely. Now I'm actually going to transfer all of these stitches onto the main bed. So I'm going to take it out of half pitch and transfer them straight up so that I can do a cast off without losing my thought process. So I'm going to transfer these and then we'll come back. Okay, these are the last 2. Now I'm going to lower the ribber. And I'm going to do an exaggerated latch tool. That went a little far. Now this is just a random bad cake of yarn that I have left over from another project. So it's got pretty wacky colors going on. Alright, now I can actually cut this. Remove the weights and remove it with the latch tool. It's a struggle. Okay. Fancy. Now, off with the bar. Now it will be really easy. Just grab each loop with my latch tool. by removing the weight, I have less chance of dropping a stitch and not being able to catch it. Whee! Moving the clips. Last stitch. So now you can see that we have a nice lace pattern. You can see where it just pulled the stitches loose for whatever was on the main bed. Now I have the waste yarn, did the broken toe, so all I have to do is find the end loop, snip that, come back over to this side where the last stitch was, and give it a pull, and now that comes off, no problem. Now I have a nice finished edge here and a nice edge here. So there is drive lace on any knitting machine. What we should do is start another video where I will read the instructions for both machines. Let's start with the Brother KH260 instructions. Casting on for the drop stitch pattern. Needle arrangement. Set the racking indicator to H3. Arrange the plain and purl needles in B position of each bed. Both end needles must be purl needles. Setting the carriage. Set the carriages as shown in the figure. Move the connected carriage a few times over all the arranged needles to set them in a line. Then place the carriage on the right end of the bed. 1 second, please. First row knitting. Thread the yarn into the yarn feeder. Move the connected carriage from right to left. The yarn will hang on the plain and purl needles. Hang on the cast-on comb. Hang on the cast-on comb as shown in the figure. Note, when knitting drop stitch pattern, hang the cast-on comb correctly as shown in the figure A. If the cast-on comb is not hung correctly, the cast-on comb will be dropped off when using the D slider. In other words, you're going to break your toe. The D slider. Make sure that the arranged needles are in B position of each bed. Place the D slider outside of the working needle on your left side. When sliding it from left to right, pressing it down gently, the stitches on the KH bed drop off. Lift up the D slider to remove it. Operate the D slider only from left to right. Hang the weights. Hang more weights than usual. Drop stitch pattern knitting. Insert the card, lock on row 1, rotate the card to the set line, and lock in the card. Set the carriages as shown. So you're putting part on the main bed and in Casey. Move the connected carriage from left to right. The needles of the KR unit and the KH unit are only selected. Oh, I read that wrong. Move the connected carriage from left to right. The needles of the KR knit and the needles of the KH are only selected. Set the card lock lever to go to arrow. Move the connected carriage from right to left. The needles of the KH and KR both knit. And we got that. Knit several rows until the asterisk of the punch card. Every second row. When it comes to the asterisk of the punch card, comes the set line. Operate the D slider as you did before, from left to right. And repeat steps 12 and 13. Pretty easy, right? For the brother machine, absolutely. Now my nemesis. What page was this? Oh. Drive lays 24 and 37. Why is there one at 24 and one at 37? Okay, there's the actual instructions. It's at 24. Woo! This book is old. Okay, 24, it just lists which ones are good for drive lays. So the first 6 cards in the R2 series for the Singer are good for drive lays. Cool. Anyway, let's read these convoluted instructions for the Singer. Stockinette on ribber side and slip stitch on knitter side with a punch card. Removing the knitter stitches every second row will form a lacy fabric. Light yarn is suitable for this type of knitting. This sample is knitted with card number 1, which is the one we just used, using a light yarn. Now remember, this here is for the Singer standard machine, so like the 360, 560, 280. What it says is you will arrange the same way, going from left to right. The carriage itself is in circular, not in drive. You are not in pile knitting. You do not need to worry about your color changer tripper. Your punch card is locked in on 0 and it is in single, not double length. You are at Russell lever 2 on both sides. You are at number 1 on your ribber, and you are not in U-shaped knitting. The Singer has this right. You need the ribber, which is the lower number, to be at a higher number than the main bed. Brother didn't say that. Brother wanted you to have them the same. Absolutely not. You want your extra lever on your Singer machine to be up so that it lifts it just a little bit higher. I'm sure I show that in other videos. You're also in half pitch 5. And that was just going left to right. And then you're doing a circular motion, and then you are dropping it. See the broken toe for the Singer? Way better on your toes. And then you you go to row 10. So that's a lot of back and forth with the P carriage. And then you are setting the punch card to drive, so arrow. And you are, this one is making sure that your ribber is also No, your main bed is also set to drive. So you have to make sure that's done. Let's read these instructions. Set the machine controls as instructed. Arrange the needles as instructed and knit from the left to the right with waste yarn. When suspending the cast-on comb without weights, insert it so that the teeth face the rib or sinker post as illustrated. That's actually kind of important. Place the pea carriage without the presser on the right side of the needle bed. Refer to page 11. Move the pea carriage to the left and back again so that the stitches are removed and the needles align in B position. Set the cam lever to slip and knit 3 rows with waste yarn. Place the pea carriage on the left side of the ribber needle bed and refer to page 11 and slide it to the right to push up the needles into C position. It's really kind of handy that the Singer guys want you to put your ribber needles up into D or E position so that they are guaranteed to knit off. For some reason, Brother doesn't care and it knits off just fine. I don't know why. Anyway, exchange waste yarn for main yarn in yarn feeder and knit from left to right. At no point does Singer want you to actually secure your main yarn. To me, that is very dangerous, and at least you should E-wrap, or in my case, I double E-wrapped, and then knit from right to left. Push both end needles of the knitter to A position. So with Singer, they don't have the option of not having the end ones pop out, so I'm kind of got used to how mine doesn't work. Yeah, lots of words. Push both end needles on the knitter to A position, slide the pea carriage on the ribber from left to right, and push up the needles to C. Set the stop knob to triangle and the right side lever to triangle, and then knit 1 row from left to right. On the ribber, all the needles in C position knit, and on the knitter, only the selected needles knit. Push up the ribber needles to C position using the pea carriage, knit 1 row from the right to the left, remove the stitches on the knitter using the pea carriage. Really easy. So, that is how we knit drive lace on the machines. Lots of words, but now that you've seen it done in person or in video, you kind of get the idea on how much fun it is, how easy it is. And the possibilities are endless. You all know from the last time I did a Techknitters day that I knit an entire shawl in drop lace, and the thing only took me about 2 hours. It was fun. It's fabulous. I still love it. Anyway, that's enough babbling for today, and we're done.
Practical application, anything you want.